It's match day at Home Park, but maybe a little bit more poignant than usual because this one is dedicated to a legend.
Now, a lot of you may not know who this is, so all I ask is please just try and hear. Because I may not be a speaker salesman, but I'm putting you one to a pioneer. This man excelled in the world of football, which took his team to a higher tier. In a sense, he was held back, but still showed when you stay grounded that you're going to take off like Ryanair. In 1901, he was born in Canning Town, but his first team was Barking. He knew how to score, had pace, and was a wizard at passing. As a defender, you couldn't daydream because he was a nightmare marking. I mean, this man was no joke. But if he was on your team, he was laughing. And when he left Barking, he had silverware, but he was just getting started. You could say that he came from the mud, because right there's where the seed was planted. He wasn't just known for his skill, but when he joined Plymouth Argyle, that seed uprooted, and we watched him grow on the field. At Plymouth Argyle, a star was born. A black professional footballer, in those days wasn't the norm. In fact, he was the only one, and that fact just can't be ignored. He played in the 1920s, and that fact still has me floored, because he took his window of opportunity and used it to open doors. In 1925, he got that England call, and I'm sure he was loving the fact, but what should have been a joyous occasion was about to be taken back. His name would soon disappear from the records, and the irony is he never heard Jack, but we're talking the 1920s. He got denied because he was black. And the truth is he could have called it a rap, but he chose to stay in his lane and keep his career on track. This man is an unsung hero whose life has such an impact. And for that, I take my hat off to him, because he really should have been capped. But he still left his mark and showed his world-class pedigree. He retired a legend at Plymouth Argyle. It was there he cemented his legacy. And the one thing testament to that fact is the boardroom is now named in his memory. You see, this is a man that needs to be recognized, but let his legacy be a reminder that race should never be weaponized. He played in the days before broadcasting, but since then, the revolution's been televised. Jack Leslie.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Argyle TV at a very, very sunny Home Park. I hope you're all well. Thanks for joining us. The Greens taking on Accrington Stanley this afternoon. Top of the table, of course, and looking to build on the terrific win against Sheffield Wednesday in the week. Hoping for something similar again today, maybe slightly less nerve-wracking. Anyway, we will, of course, be building up to that game, bringing you all the team news and views from inside Home Park. But as you just saw from Big Scoop there talking about Jack Leslie, we will be starting today's show by going through the events of yesterday. In a couple of moments' time, I'll be joined by both Matt Tiller and Greg Foxsmith from the Jack Leslie campaign, who over the last 3 years have put in tremendous amounts of work to get to where we got to yesterday and now going forward, where Jack is immortalised outside the Devonport end in bronze. Also hoping to have a chat with the sculptor as well, Andy Edwards. But if he's not here, we'll have to make do with Ian Stonebridge, who is back with us on Argyle TV. Ian, of course, you're more than an adequate substitute. But you've seen the statue, I'm guessing, on your way in this morning. It just adds something different, doesn't it, to a match day now?
It does, yeah. It's fantastic. I think, just came up a little bit early to go and have a really good look at it. I know the unveiling yesterday, was a brilliant event, and it's fantastic to see everyone getting involved. It's a feature outside the ground, but I think more than that, it starts a conversation as well, where a bit more knowledge about Jack's background, his history as an Argyle player, and obviously the story around the England call-up, and I think it's really important that it draws attention to that. So yeah, it's fantastic to see. The sculpture's stunning itself, and yeah, brilliant day yesterday.
As you say, it's important to tell the story, and I don't know whether you saw around the plinth at the bottom, it has kind of the timeline of events of what happened in Jack's life, obviously the big event in 1925 with the call-up, but also his list of achievements, and I think that's something that Matt and Greg are very keen to stress as well. It's not just a token gesture because of his injustice. It highlights that, of course, and tells that story, but also 400 games, 136 games, captain of Argyle. He more than deserves it on merit too.
He does, yeah. And I think, as a player here, I did recall the name, but I certainly didn't know really anything about his prominence as an Argyle player. And, the sheer number of appearances and goals he scored is fantastic. So, you could argue that even on that, it warrants his, status as a, we throw legend around fairly often. There's no doubt that in Jack Leslie's case, it's really deserved. And, full credit to Matt and Greg for their work achieving what they have. I think it's brilliant to draw attention to the story and to highlight it in such a fantastic way outside the ground.
If you haven't seen it or you haven't got to Home Park yet, make sure you do come early, like Ian said, to go and have a little look around the statue. It's outside the Devonport end. You won't be able to miss it. He stood there in all his glory celebrating a goal, as he did 136 times for Argyle, and all that information, as it says, is written down the bottom. But if anyone isn't quite up to speed necessarily with the Jack Leslie story and the timeline of events, let's have a little look back now at how we got from where he was when he was playing for Argyle to where we got to yesterday with the unveiling of the statue.
he had never mentioned what he'd done as a player. So, you know, that's, I suppose, credit to him and his modesty, really.
More than it did my dad, because I think that it was the icing on top of the cake. It was his career, and that would have been the top accolade, wouldn't it? And it was taken away from him.
A great visual story there, I'm sure you'll agree, of Jack Leslie's story, brilliantly put together by an Argyle fan, James Curnow. So thanks very much for letting us use that. And as you'll see, we're joined by Matt Tiller from the Jack Leslie campaign.
Thanks.
Jack, you must be Matt. You must be absolutely shattered but proud after everything that's gone into yesterday.
It's great because I can relax and watch the game. Well, watch the game today and enjoy it after what's been an intense, particularly like the last couple of weeks, but a massive 2 years. It's been amazing. Such a great day, and so I can't thank everyone from Jack's family who this means so much to, but legends like Ronnie Murjay coming up, and that was incredible. That was so wonderful, and all the fans that have contributed towards the statue, and the statue looks amazing. Andy Edwards has done such a great job. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, just on yesterday, I mean, you've probably had 1,000 people say this to you, but could it have gone any better in your eyes? Because there were so many supporters looped around it, and even Jack's little appearance a little bit early. It kind of added to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice that he wanted to get out there. It was almost like he wanted to come out and run on the home park turf once more. But that was, you know, the crowd was so positive, and you know, those were people who all supported us and helped us in many, many different ways. They were all behind us, and so that kind of thing didn't matter. It was great. It was so, yeah, delighted.
You've obviously put humongous amounts of effort into it and getting it all started. Take us back to the beginning. We saw it in the little VT there, 2019, you and Greg in the pub.
Well, yeah, well, it was the first conversations with me and a big Argyle fan, Tony Fitzgerald, at a party, and he was like telling me about this story. Like, Jack Leslie's in the annals of the club, but you know, that England story it was around, but it hadn't really passed down. And a lot of my friends who've been Argyle fans for as long as me, which like it's quite a long time, we're talking like the 80s, that story wasn't talked about. It was there, but it wasn't talked about. So as soon as I started talking to other fans, they were like, "Why didn't I? I can't believe. Is that what true?" And then I started doing more reading and find out that yes, it is true. And then I'll talk to my mate Greg, and this is incredible. We've got to do something. And he's a real like campaigner, and we just went, yeah, let's do it. So we did. So yeah. But many pub conversations.
Best things always start in a pub,
yeah,
don't they? And it was literally capped off, wasn't it, yesterday? Do you want to talk through that from the FA?
Well, you can imagine from the very start, we talked to the FA, and they donated and supported us, and that was great. And we did ask. A lot of people have asked us, what are they going to do? What's their response? And we asked them, would you give him an honorary cap? Just something symbolic that recognises what he did and what happened to him. And it was literally within the last couple of weeks. Debbie Hewitt, new FA chair. We were at an event at Wembley, myself and Leslie, one of the granddaughters. And, they just said, oh, hello, Pilgrim Pete. Pilgrim Pete's delighted about the cap. Cheers, mate. She chatted to us and actually really properly engaged and read all the stuff. And then got back in touch and said, I'm going to do something. And she did, like in such a short space of time. It's just incredible.
It just shows how much of a kind of an impact just getting the story out there has done.
Yeah, it was there in Argyle history. It's like when Jack and Sammy Black came back in 1965, they got a standing ovation because they're legends. And it mentions in the programme the fact that neither of them were capped. Sammy was Scottish. He was really great. Still rankles with the fans, but of course that faded a bit, and now it's come back, and it's just a great and powerful and important story to be told.
We could go on forever here, Matt, but unfortunately we do have a game to build up to. But
yes,
just very quickly, you got the programme there as well.
Yeah,
We printed extra of these for everybody's, so you can all get one basically, because a lot of the stories are in are in here and a lot of the tales.
Can't thank everyone enough, Tim and Darren, who put this together. Great cover. And yeah, there's loads of information about Jack, the story, and the campaign of you know what's happened over the last couple of years. It's just, yeah, I'm delighted when I saw this. Yeah, absolutely delighted.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Matt. Hopefully you can enjoy today's game.
Yeah.
Because these guys were all, as they're on their way out, were in attendance yesterday, as were Jack's 3 granddaughters, Leslie, Lynn, and Jill. And Richard Amofa spoke to all 3 about their granddad.
Jack Leslie graced this turf for 13 years, a legend and immortal of a man, and a legend to Argyle fans. 400 games, 137 goals. He was our captain, our idol. His goal-scoring ability went beyond the stands of Home Park. Rumours of a prolific forward in the depths of Plymouth began to spread. An England call-up would surely follow, and in 1925, Jack got that call, only for it to be taken away because he was black. It was an injustice. Let's hear the story of Jack, a remarkable life through those who knew him best.
I'm Gillian Carter and I'm Jack Leslie's youngest granddaughter. Grandad, he was a very loving man and he was a very humble man. He always had time for me. He always bought me comics every Saturday and we ran right the way through them, every page.
Hello, I'm Leslie Hiscott. I'm the eldest of Jack Leslie's 3 granddaughters. But he was a very loving man, very gentle to us. We never saw the aggressive side that he must have had when he played football. Very kind, loyal. He was just wonderful.
I'm Lynn Davis. I'm one of Jack Leslie's granddaughters. I mean, we're proud of our granddad, but his granddad, you know, there's nothing to do with his football, just the person himself. He was a lovely man. He didn't have a bad word to say about anyone.
I know he was very good at a lot of sports, but football was his passion. His skill and his ability with football, and it's like, wow. And that's my granddad. And I've gone all goosey.
Well, he started off his life in Barking Town it was called then, football club, and he played there for a time, and then from there Plymouth Argyle spotted him and heard how good a player he was, and they went and tempted him. They went and sat round the table and they showed him postcards of Plymouth and all the seafront, the beautiful scenery, which lured him away from the East End of London.
He never spoke a great deal about his footballing career. I think he thought that as girls we weren't interested. But we were told about the incident of the England call-up. We did know about that.
He was called into his manager's office and they said to him, Jack, you've been picked to play for England, which was marvellous for Plymouth Argyle as well.
For him to get the call-up, and he was very excited, because it was unknown for him to go to anywhere like Plymouth to find someone to come and play for England. And I just think he must have been so gutted.
And on the day that the game that he'd been chosen for, which was against Ireland, England could only manage a 0-0 draw. Grandad went out and played on the same day for Plymouth against Bournemouth, and they won 4-2, and Grandad scored in that game.
You can't believe it that they come to look at the colour of his skin rather than his football skills.
In having the statue, I think, is a big thing to celebrate because it's going to be there forever.
It's mind-blowing. It is really difficult to get your mind around what's happened. And I still don't think it's fully sunk in.
But we can really only praise Plymouth Argyle for taking him on back in the days, nearly 100 years ago. And to take a black player on was a big thing, I suppose.
I don't know, he was a special man. Everybody loved him.
We've got Greg Foxsmith with us now from the Argyle campaign as well. We just watched a little video there, Greg, of the 3 sisters, Leslie, Lynn and Jill. They spoke to Richard in the week building up to the unveiling yesterday. How great was it to have them down yesterday for the unveiling?
It was immense. It meant so much to the family and to the fans. You know, such a big turnout yesterday. The granddaughters were a bit discombobulated at first, you know, they were sort of in tears. The emotion was there, and, you know, to be supported by the Green Army from the Belgium Greens, the Americans, you know, and the city of Plymouth, amazing.
We were speaking to Matt just a moment ago about that sort of emotion and feeling of, you know, the finality of getting it done. What was it like for you?
Well, it was the end of a 2-year journey, and so it was a momentous moment. And now that the hard work's been done, we're just delighted that the statue stands there in perpetuity, not just as a representation of a great Argyle legend, but also telling the Jack Leslie story, the information on the plinth. There's QR codes as well to take you to the website for the stats and the info. We think it will be a great storytelling device as well as a monument.
It's one of the things that a lot of people have said to me since, you know, I've worked at the club for the last couple of years, and Ian Stonebridge was talking about it just earlier on. Matt said it. Jack Leslie was a name people knew about, but it wasn't. They didn't know anything around him. They just saw the name and the stats, and now you guys have got that story out there. It is now so widely known.
Thank you. Well, I was one of those people. I knew the stats. You know, he's up there in the Argyle records, 400 appearances, 137 goals. That's the 4th highest goal scorer. But we didn't really know much more about that. And his story is such a fascinating one and has so many facets to it that it's great to celebrate his life, his achievements, as well as just his record as a goal scorer for Argyle.
And on yesterday as well, just seeing the amount of media outlets that were there, it's been all over the news, this unveiling, this story. That is kind of job done for you, isn't it?
Well,
for now.
That's true. It's been on all the media channels, and Matt and myself have been, you know, on the BBC and ITV. But obviously, Argyle TV is the pinnacle for us. So we're so glad to be here.
Very good. And for that, I'm going to get you to turn around, Greg, if that's okay. Can have a look at this on the back of Greg's shirt. Give us a turn around. Jack Leslie, number 10. It's what he would have worn, and it's just a shame none of us saw him play.
That's a shame, I know, but never mind. We can admire his statue.
We can indeed. Greg, thanks so much. Enjoy the game. Hopefully we can do Jack proud this afternoon. Greg Foxsmith there. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, here's a little look back on yesterday and how the unveiling went.
Yes, I'm told we're ready. So, children, you know what to do. We practiced this earlier, but this time we want everyone to join in. 5.
We'd like to invite Leslie to talk to you now.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie. I'm the eldest of Jack Leslie's granddaughters. I am immensely proud and very emotional to be here today. This occasion means so much for us, that at long last our granddad is getting the recognition he deserves. And the fact that he's now been awarded a posthumous cap is the icing on the cake. Thank you all for being here today. I'm just so proud. Thank you.
Thank you, my beloved Argyle, for the support given to this campaign and your help in saving a big part of our black history. The fans called and the club responded. John Francis Leslie, we salute you, a true Argyle legend and a football pioneer.
Well, I'm joined now by Andy Edwards, the sculptor of that magnificent bronzed Adonis outside of the Devonport end. And Andy, congratulations! You must be proud to see your work in place.
Fantastic! Yeah, it's been a great few days. Yesterday was unbelievable. Great crowd like there is today. Everybody's appreciating the efforts that the team's made to deliver Jack back to home park.
Yeah, I mean, when you do see an unveiling like that, I mean, you've done a lot of work, a lot of statues. Do you still get that same sense of wow when it gets unveiled?
Well, yesterday, I don't think I've ever seen so much positive coverage of anything I've done before. in the media and the things that people said in person, incredible. Because it's such a vital story, and Jack's story is so relevant to today. So of course it's going to get that kind of positive attention. It's a great, great achievement.
I remember hearing an interview with you where you spoke about, trying to get the perfect, trying to get the images and do the research into Jack, because there's not a whole host of pictures or any footage to go from. So what was that process like?
Well, 2 years ago there was very few, and the designs we sketched out were based on those few scant photographs. But the brilliant thing about this project is the family that have engaged with us and worked with us throughout, and they opened their photo albums, and that enabled the statue to kind of come alive, or to try to come alive, and to take off in the way that it's kind of taken off. Because one of the loveliest comments I've heard today was that, oh, there's Jack Leslie flying.
He does look like he's flying, doesn't he? I mean, on the sisters as well, it was great that they were down yesterday for it. They're down again today to watch a game. They came in to see the work in progress as well.
Yeah.
How key was that relationship between you and them?
Oh, we're friends for life, I hope, and they've had a tremendous input, not only with the comments, but they've actually posed alongside the clay when I was sculpting them, because they've all three have got elements of Jack's physiology about them, and I've been able to transpose that, and mostly their encouragement and their support for the project has been unique.
And just finally, Andy, the work is done, it's out there, it's perfect, it looks great, he's flying, as someone said. Yeah. But, for you as well, as someone who probably, like a lot of us, didn't know the story, does that make it sort of more poignant?
Phenomenally so. I mean, it's like fated. It's that the Times demanded this statue because it represents more than Jack Leslie, more than Argyle. This is like a national landmark, and it's been treated as such. We saw the stories in the media, and this is only the beginning. This statue is now iconic of Plymouth Argyle, and I'm kind of hoping that if one of the lads scores today, Sam Cosgrove or whoever, he's going to do a Jack Leslie, and he's going to adopt the pose.
Oh, I'm going to have a word with them when they come back past. Absolutely. Andy, appreciate you coming and chatting to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It looks great out there.
Thank you. Thanks
enjoy
again.
the game this afternoon. Right, we're about half an hour away from kickoff here on Argyle TV. And coming up next, we'll be going through the team news.
Ball in, good goal, Borja. Progress into the second division.
Hello, you're watching Argyle TV. We are half an hour away from kickoff here at Home Park, a gloriously sunny Home Park. I'm a little bit hot actually in what I'm wearing, misjudged the jacket. But the crowd is beginning to build up. We've got the two sets of players out there. And as I said, this one is a bit more poignant because of what we've been talking about with Jack Leslie. And if we do score today, I would love, as Andy said, to see someone with their arms outstretched. But let's focus on the game now. Let's focus on the two sides and the forms and build up for it. And we'll look at the Argyle team news. Ian Stonebridge, of course, is back with me to talk us through this one. 4 changes made by Stephen Schumacher for this game. Very interesting changes as well up top. Sam Cosgrove and Niall Ennis come in to start, having finished the game so strongly against Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday. The other changes, see Jordan Houghton and Brendan Galloway come in. Randall and Lonvite, the two missing out there. Thoughts on the lineup, Ian? It is intriguing.
It is, yeah, and obviously one of the big strengths of Argyle's squad at the moment is that opportunity to rotate, and the fact that players are coming out of the team having not really done anything wrong at all. So some of those players that were involved on Tuesday night that perhaps put in strong performances and did well for the team found themselves on the bench, and those that came on and really grabbed that chance have got the opportunity to start. So yeah, Cosgrove in particular, you saw how hungry he was in those minutes that he had at the end of the game on Tuesday, and it was great to see. So it will be really interesting to see him from the start today.
We've spoken about Sam Cosgrove and how much of an impact that he has made, like on Tuesday, coming on from the bench and causing havoc, and he did it against Derby. He's only started 2 games. He did score in his only league start against Wycombe, but being used in this way, what are the key differences? Because when he comes on, he is a point of difference, whereas now this is the way we're setting up to play.
Yeah, it's different for him to be on from the start, obviously, and it's different for the team as well. So I think, clearly on Tuesday night, starting with Ryan Hardy and that pace does give the opportunity for Argyle to try and stretch the opposition, force them to try and drop off a little bit and give more space to play kind of in those areas in behind the front player. So it will be interesting today to see how they deal with that. Perhaps we'll see Niall Ennis making those runs in behind, and perhaps Morgan Whittaker as well. Again, they'll want to stretch the game to create those spaces for Argyle to develop the play in the way that we know they like to.
And Niall Ennis coming in as well. We think he's probably going to play in that Danny Mayer, Finn as Morgan Whittaker role just off the striker. We've normally seen him as an out-and-out striker. How is he going to have to adapt to playing that different role?
Yeah, clearly, different players, even when they're put in the same position in a similar system, will bring different things to that role. And I think, Niall Ennis was great on Tuesday night. I think the impact he made as a sub was, almost as great as Cosgrove. He obviously created the opportunity, and I think his ability to receive the ball, hold it up and bring other people into the game has been really key for Argyle across this season, as well as on Tuesday night. So, hopefully they can get the ball into his feet. He can bring others into the game, but also his ability to, hold the ball up, back into someone and get a turn and then create something, whether that's for himself or whether it's for someone else, as it was on Tuesday night. I think he can bring something different to that role that can be to Argyle's benefit.
Let's have a look at the Accrington side now as well, shall we? They're on a great run of form, actually, just outside the top 8, won their last 3. They've made one change. John Coleman's opted for one change from their 3-1 win against their Lancashire rivals, Morecambe, on Tuesday night, and that sees Mo Sangare come into the midfield, Harvey Rogers dropping out. They're an interesting team, Accrington. Whenever I think about them, you always think, well, they'll be languishing near the bottom, just purely based on budget. And then you look at the table and they're 9th, and they're on a 3-match winning run. It's remarkable, isn't it?
It is. They're clearly well organised. They clearly have a recognised way that they go about playing the game, and that togetherness, the consistency, I think, from the manager. He obviously knows the club inside out, and it's a dangerous one for Argyle today. I think all of the hype and the if you like the high that everyone left the ground on Tuesday night, and now it's another game, slightly perhaps less glamorous, if you like, without being too unfair to Accrington. Sheffield Wednesday, obviously a big team in this division, and a real tough game for Argyle. But this one is the one they're faced with now. I think it's important everyone, not just the team, but everyone in the ground remembers, what created that atmosphere on Tuesday night and tries to bring a bit of that to the game today.
Well, let's hear from Stephen Schumacher, shall we? He shared his thoughts with me earlier on about today's opponents.
A brilliant start, the 9th, I think, in the table, and won their last 3. So, yeah, got some good players. Always a difficult team to play against with the way they play and the way they mark you. So, yeah, it's going to be another tough game and one we're really looking forward to. Obviously, there's a little bit of a connection as well, where Mark Hughes used to be at Accrington and Matt Butcher we brought from Accrington this summer. So, yeah, it all leads to an exciting contest, hopefully. Yeah,
I always ask this question when you have players that have played for the club just a season before or a couple of seasons ago. Can you gain any insight from the likes of Matt Butcher and Mark Hughes?
I think so, yeah, because you can get an insight into how the manager thinks, how we feel as though they'll set their team up, what the players are good at. They can give you some information that you might not necessarily know if you're from the outside. So it's important you use them people who've got them contacts who can give you a little bit of info, because as much information that you can get, the better, and just makes you more prepared.
John Coleman just seems to be one of the most impressive managers around. Like, what sort of from manager to manager now as well? Like, what do you think about him and the job that he just always seems to do at Accrington?
He's brilliant. I've known John a long time. Not obviously a little bit more now since on the coaching side, but you know who John Coleman is, and Jimmy Bell as well as assistant. John Doolan, all the coaching staff, they've been there a while, so they're all Scousers, they're all from the same town as me and Kirby, so yeah, we know each other. he does an unbelievable job at Accrington, always has done. Gets his teams playing an attractive style of football, always makes them competitive. They work incredibly hard for each other on limited resources, so they do a brilliant job and never might surprise other people who don't know them, but if you know who them characters are and know what that club's about, then you shouldn't be surprised of how well they always do.
Just finally, the support, the noise on Tuesday night, and as it has been actually throughout the season, is absolutely incredible. How sort of key do you see our support being between now and the next few games and then throughout the rest of the season? Yeah,
the support is incredible, and just the sheer amount of numbers. I think I read that it was the highest attendance for so many years, and the atmosphere was great. People in the city were saying they could hear it from all around when them goals went in, and it is huge, and it does make us a hard team to play against here at home park when the atmosphere is like that. So we're going to need that, especially on Saturday and for the forthcoming games, because we want it to be as hostile of an environment as possible for teams to come and play. It shouldn't be an easy game to come here, and we want that to continue. But just on that as well, I spoke to Zach the other day about he made me aware that we've been given a couple of warnings as well about some of our fan behaviour with pyros and coin throwing and whatnot. So just feel it's important that we get that balance right, that we need to be not an easy place to come. We want it to make it hard for teams, but we can't step over the line with fan behaviour and pitch encroachments and whatever, because what that can result in is reduced stadium capacity, which we don't want, or potentially a big fine, which affects the playing budget. So I think everyone just needs to be mindful of that situation as well.
Well, someone who's been a big part of that recent run of form at the start of the season, he's not starting today, ironically, is Finn Azaz, and he's been absolutely loving life at Argyle at the moment.
No, it's been good, especially recently here at the club. It's been great few results. Just trying to keep the run going.
Take us kind of inside the dressing room after Tuesday night, because that must have been a real buzz.
No, it was exactly that. It was brilliant. Just like the fact that it's happened before maybe makes it kind of like a norm now. Not a norm, but you know what I mean?
That kind of been a norm.
Not a norm, but because it's happened before with Sam, it's like, oh, it's done it again, like we're all buzzing. But it wasn't the first, was it? So
No, I suppose that kind of is a big tell for how well the side is doing at the moment, isn't it? Do you feel you can come back from those situations?
Yeah, I think, well, we were 1-0 up. But in terms of the momentum of the game, it was definitely like a flip. They had a bit of momentum in the second half, and we managed to flip that and win the game, which was brilliant. What
have you thought about the standard of the league this season? Because we've seemed to have played every single top team so far.
Well, I haven't got anything to base it against, because this is my first year in League One. But obviously we've played against a lot of the top. I think we've played against the top 8 now, and I think we should move forward with confidence, knowing that we've got results, but they weren't just like fluke results. We've arguably deserved them for most of the games, I would say. So we just move forward with more confidence.
You mentioned the word fluke, and it can't be a fluke if you do play the entire top 8 and the top of the table and unbeaten against them.
Yeah, I try not to look at the table too much. It's just kind of like game by game, and obviously when you play a big team, you know that they're going to be good, and every game we've done that. I think like there's never been a time when we've been out of our depth, only Charlton, but I think that was just a bad day at the office, which happens.
You were away with Ireland, of course, the under-21s. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great to get my first cap. Different experience for me, going away, going to Ireland, then going to Israel. Like, it's a really good experience for me.
Yeah, what kind of does it give you the taste to want to do more of that?
Yeah, like being able to travel to different countries and obviously represent Ireland was like a really proud moment for me. So obviously I want more of that.
Let's come back to Argyle, and obviously this weekend is another game, Accrington Stanley. I don't know whether you know too much about them, but what is it that we have to do in that game to continue our form? What is the key to continuing the form?
Just prepare the same way we have been preparing. Doesn't matter the team. Obviously we've maybe it's easier to psych yourself up for a big game, but the challenge is to do the same now against a team that aren't as typically as big.
Yeah, and I suppose we were at the top, so we're there to be shot at as well, aren't we?
Exactly, but like we should maintain the confidence, but just not have any complacency and prepare the same as we would for any other game. Doesn't matter how big.
Not involved from the start today, Finizaz, Ian, but it kind of emphasises the point we made all season about having the firepower on the bench to come on and change it if, for whatever reason, it doesn't work from the beginning.
Yeah, it doesn't, and you know the manager and the coaching staff have shown themselves to be really good at picking and choosing those changes to be made. You know, and so far this season they've certainly done that at the right time in games and the right personnel, and having those players. I think we already said it, but hungry, you know, desperate to get on the pitch and impact the game does make a huge difference. You know, and the people starting the game know it's not necessarily going to be about their performance, and to some extent it might just be in those latter stages of the game that the game comes Argyle's way, as on Tuesday night.
We're getting closer and closer to kick-off, Ian. The Accrington fans are beginning to make their noise just over the wall beside us. What are you thinking for today?
I think it's just crucial that Argyle get their attitude right from the start, and that everyone in the ground has the same kind of positive approach towards creating an atmosphere, making Argyle somewhere that it's not nice to come, and being positive. I think Argyle are obviously expected to win this game, but it will be key how they start the game, and in that first half, creating chances, hopefully taking some of them to settle everyone down today.
Well, thank you very much, Ian. Commentary of Argyle against Accrington is coming up very, very shortly, so don't go anywhere. Right, we just have enough time to go through some of the other games in League One this afternoon. Second place, Ipswich, of course, hot on the heels of Argyle, are at bottom of the table. Morecambe, Portsmouth, also flying high, are at home to Fleetwood Town, and Sheffield Wednesday, who we beat, of course, on Tuesday night, host Cheltenham Town, a side in a little bit of form themselves. We'll keep you up to date with all of these matches throughout the afternoon. But we're pretty much ready to get going then. The players are done with their warm-ups. They're going in for the final bit of instruction. Reminder that this game is live on Argyle TV for you this afternoon. All of the options are available to you on our website, pafc.co.uk. Click on the Argyle TV tab for your streaming options where you live. But coming up next is Argyle against Accrington in the company of former Argyle defender Mark Edworthy and Rob McNichol.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Home Park for this afternoon's game between Plymouth Argyle and Accrington Stanley. It could hardly be a better day for football. The sun is out. Argyle